welcome to my very first gardening video. This is my beautiful garden that I've decided to plant this year. It is July of 2020, so all of us have just been through the ringer for the last, 4 months into our 2-week lockdown. And I think a lot of us are kind of starting to really do some thinking about whether or not we could take care of ourselves if maybe we didn't have the support that we are used to from our government, or having grocery stores fully stocked, or the ability to go there. So I think a lot of us are kind of, the wheels are starting to turn. We're starting to think, like, what are we capable of? What skills do we have? Do we have skills? Do we have any means to feed our family, worst case scenario? So I kind of started this in the fall indoors. I tried to start growing cucumbers indoors just to see if I could maybe have an indoor garden at some point. Just, our weather is really horrible here. We are in Edmonton, Alberta. It's supposed to be a zone 3B. It can go anywhere from a 3A to a 4, depending on the year, the season. But we're having excellent weather in terms of hot days this year in comparison to a lot of the other years. However, we are also having a lot of precipitation and really harsh winds and some really crazy storms. So we're kind of battling both ends of the extremes this year. So probably really hard for a first-time gardener to navigate that kind of climate issue. So I just wanted to take you through my very, very first ever outdoor garden. So we're at about week 6 or 7 of growth after planting seedlings, and this is where we're at right now. So if you guys want to learn with me, learn how to outdoor garden in Edmonton, Alberta, please follow my channel, give me a like, subscribe, share this. I'm sure there's a lot of us that are gardening for the first time. The emptiness of the shelves at every gardening store in the city shows that a lot of us decided to start a garden this year. So come with me on my journey. Maybe you could learn a couple things. Maybe you won't have to do as much research as I did, because I'll just give you the goods right here when I realize it. And maybe you could help me out too. So I've asked a lot of questions in my videos, so please leave answers in the comments if you've done this before, if you've done this for years and you already know answers to my issues that you can share in the comments. I'm sure everybody else following this channel will also really appreciate those answers. We're all brand new and we're all trying to quickly gain skills, so knowledge is power and sharing is caring. So please share your knowledge, and hopefully we can all have really successful Alberta gardens. So here we are. This is my brassica bed. Little did I know, as awesome as planting all of these brassicas are all together in one area, they actually attract quite a few of the insects that love to consume brassicas. So we've been doing pretty good. We've had a couple little minor issues, such as, just little chewing insects coming in here, just kind of eating a few little holes in the bok choy and things, but I would say this is a pretty minor infestation. And I just was able to hit this with a little bit of neem oil, soap, and water mixed together, and it seemed to have killed all the little tiny beetles. What was eating these guys was these really tiny little black beetles. They were just all over these. And now we're good. We've been good for about a week or so. Nothing going on. But as soon as they grow bigger, and parts of the new leaves are not covered in neem, you might want to just give it another spray. So over here I have my amazing chard, and maybe some of you guys know, I like to do some Portuguese cooking, like Portuguese soup and things like that. And it takes quite a bit of Swiss chard, and I really love it. So I decided to grow it, and we had what I thought was a major infestation of leaf miners on these. But now in hindsight, with looking at other people's leaf miner infestation issues, we had a very minor leaf miner infestation. So again, I was able to control that with a little bit of neem oil on the backs of the leaves. They tend to want to lay their eggs on the back bottom of the leaves, and their eggs just look like these tiny little white specks. I'm trying to find some, but I think we're good. We don't actually have any right now. But anyways, yeah, so these leaf miner flies, when I got this soil put in here, it was mostly manure, mostly compost and peat moss. And I think they came with the manure, because once the soil was down and things were planted, they just exploded out of that soil. There was just so many of they're like little gray house flies is basically what they look like. You could probably see some on my little bug traps here. Those are those bigger guys there. Those are the flies that lay the eggs for the leaf miners, and they are my nemesis this year. But you know what? These yellow traps, these yellow sticky traps, I just got these off Amazon. I think it was like 30 bucks for 60, and they're double-sided. This has made the hugest difference in this garden. Just these little really sticky traps. These have been out here for quite a bit, and they are still sticky. They're continuing to gather flies, and I have this one, so this side's empty. And if this gets too full, I'll just peel the back off and flip it over. But I tend to put these around the soil area, because that's where these little guys are coming in and out of, is the soil. So basically what happens with leaf miners, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is they eat through the leaf, like in between the layers of the leaf. So you'll see them like a white patch, and it kind of looks like a leaf burn or some kind of like damage that was not created by bugs on the leaf. But when you look closely, you'll see that the leaf has been separated into 2 layers, and there's like little black poops in between, and eventually you will see a little tiny caterpillar in those areas. And you basically could just squish it and kill it, and you can still salvage that leaf to eat and everything like that, except for that one spot. But if your leaf miners sort of take over, you should just remove the leaf and take it away from the garden, so that the little larva or little caterpillar doesn't turn into larva and then basically another leaf miner fly. And I think they have 2 life cycles too, so that's kind of concerning. We shall see how we do about that when they have their second life cycle. Hopefully we got enough of them that it's not too much. Okay, so as you can see, here's again another little fly trap here. I'll show you the other side too. It's pretty crazy. Like, it is just full, and so are all the rest of them that I've used. And you can see all the other ones here, and they're pretty full. So when you're doing organic gardening, I guess you kind of have to just be creative. So they worked a lot better than I thought. Anyway, so, here's a really good example of leaf miner. So they love these sulfur plants, or any plant with sulfur compounds in them, these kind of cruciferous vegetables. So here's an example of leaf miner damage to a leaf. Let's see if the eggs are on the back to show you. Okay, so there's no eggs on the back of this one, but this would be a damaged leaf. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove that. And here is another area of damage. No eggs on these guys to show you that I can see. So awesome that there's no eggs. What I've noticed is these ones, all the plants kind of along the edge of this bed, since we have a lot of wind going this way, it seems like these plants on the edge of the bed are like actually getting a lot more eggs and creatures and things like that. Whereas the middle of this bed is actually like pretty full, hardy, and healthy. So I think the edges are just getting a little bit more traffic from bugs right now. But I don't know, I could be wrong. Just have to keep observing it and seeing basically how my garden works. I'm just getting to know it, and it is just getting to know me. Okay, so we're coming around over here. So these are my broccoli. I had some crazy horrible issues with broccoli at first. So my plants, some of them are still a little small. This one was my strongest plant right here, and I had another strong plant right here. But I've actually planted another broccoli seedling there instead because we lost him. He was super huge, sort of like that guy right there. And these guys are a little bit wilted right now because it is super hot out today. Come the evening, they'll be perked right back up. Now, that is the confusing thing, okay? So we were having a lot of hot days. My broccoli was looking a little limp in the heat, which I didn't really pay any attention to because I just thought it was hot out. Either that, or the other problem we were having was that we were getting like ridiculous amounts of rain. And I think my plants were it could have been that. They could have been overwatered or too hot. So I didn't really pay much mind to it until I was observing some of my broccoli plants, and they were actually not coming back from the wilt even when it was cooler in the evening. So that's when I started to do some extra investigation. So what I realized was that there are like brassica cabbage root maggots. I believe they come from the gorgeous little white butterflies I thought were so pretty and so cute that just came in here and started laying eggs on everything. And so I actually did lose, I think maybe one or two of my broccolis to root maggots, which was so gross. So I pulled up my broccoli plant and I started wiping away the dirt right at the base of the stem, or maybe it's a stem maggot, something like that. I pulled the soil away from the base of the stem, and it was just covered in little maggots just eating away at the stem. So apparently that's common with broccoli and cabbage and those kinds of plants, any brassica plants. So then I went on a mad rampage of looking for the little white fly, or the cabbage moth eggs. And I found a bunch, and then I went further and I started to uproot a lot of these broccoli and collies. And I found a couple more that had some root maggots, but what I did was I sprayed with a hose. I just sprayed the roots completely clean from maggots and dirt and everything, and I replanted them and hoped for the best. I didn't think they were going to make it because plants basically spread out their roots so that they can have stability as well, and I kind of just plopped them back in there. I didn't spread out the roots or anything like that, and basically didn't think that they were going to come back, but they did come back. So this guy's coming back. You can see there was a lot of, this guy, he's got a lot of leaf damage just because that replanting just really was hard on some of these plants, but they are actually coming back now. And we'll see what they do now that they're back. And we also have these seedlings here, so we'll see how those do too. And then I have some collies over here, and I just kind of put the leaves around the head of the cauliflower just to keep it from any sun damage or anything like that. But these are coming in pretty decent. They're very tiny still, as you can see. But they each are flowering. And I have no idea. This is like my literal first time having a garden. This is my very first garden, outdoor garden. And I have never grown pretty much all of this stuff, except for maybe cucumbers, and tried to grow a couple tomatoes inside the house. So I have cauliflower coming in, and it is beginning of July, so I don't know if this is normal or maybe they just bolted early because of crazy weather that we're getting here in Alberta. But they're there, so I don't really know what to do. If you know what to do, let me know in the comment section. Leave them. Are they bolting? Should I replant some more? Have a bumper crop, or a, sorry, succession crop, succession planting. As you can see, I'm very new at this. I'll get there. I'll get there, people. Have patience. All right, so we are in Alberta. I am in zone 3B. This year, it sort of feels like it could be zone 4 though. We're getting some pretty hot, sunny days, which is super rare. But this is my sugar baby watermelon. I got this like probably a month ago now, and it's so small still. So I don't know if it's the cold temperatures, the lack of sunlight. I really don't know why these guys are just kind of small. Maybe this is normal for this time of the year, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with this watermelon. I'm not losing hope on it, but I don't know if it'll be able to catch up unless we have a really late fall this year. Maybe we'll get a watermelon out of it, but I'm not really holding out hope for it at this point, but we'll see. He's pretty yellow too. There's not a lot of really good green color in there, and there's really no reason for it, like in terms of soil quality and fertilizer and that kind of thing. Could just be overwatered. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. Okay guys, so here is the beginnings of a long life of asparagus over here. So if anybody has ever planted asparagus before, you kind of know that the first year, second year, you kind of don't really get a lot out of it. You plant it, it has to establish itself, and basically like this is what you get the first year. So like look at how tiny that little stem is, and I've just let these go to fern so that they can actually establish their roots, and maybe next year we can start harvesting a few tiny little asparaguses as they come up. But yeah, right now I don't think we're going to be eating from the asparagus bed this year, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Here's an example of what they look like when they come out of the ground. So I've been growing like these purple asparagus. So that's what it looks like when it comes out of the ground. Now, if this was not only a year-old plant, this would have been a lot thicker, and I would have been able to actually eat this. But because this is just a year one plant, this guy's super tiny, so I'm just gonna let this one go to fern too. And then I have some just parsley planted with the asparagus because they're good companion plants. So that's what I have going on in this back corner. It seems so bare, which I don't really like, having like a bare corner, but in no time this will be full of asparagus, so have to be patient. All right, so this year I got a couple of blueberry plants. So I got this bush. This I got from Vessie's. Ordered basically a blueberry plant. It seems to be doing pretty well. So far so good. It's flowering, not a lot of berries or anything. It probably needs some time to establish itself as well. And then I ended up getting this blueberry plant from Ellerslie Greenhouse, and it's very well established. I made sure to get one that was pretty well established. So I had a lot of dark blue blueberries on this thing yesterday, and I was gonna wait one more day to see if they would get a little plumper and maybe a little sweeter, and the birds beat me to it. So they ate them all. They ate all the blue ones. I think I maybe have one guy hidden back there, but the birds ate them. So if you guys have any tips on what to do about that, that'd be awesome. Next, I have the beginnings of a raspberry bush. That's coming in nicely. I had only one tiny issue with this plant, and that was, one leaf was just covered in aphid. So I just removed the leaf and it's been good ever since. And I don't know if you just saw that little guy, but got a lot of predators on this one. Lots of spiders on this one and webs. So they're doing their job. This is kind of like a random pot that I did here, but it seems to be taking off so well. So what this is a pot of sweet potato plants. So I bought some organic sweet potatoes. I probably in January or February or something like that. They ended up not getting eaten, and they started to kind of like grow some eyes on them and things. So they went to, basically they got leaves on them, and I cut those pieces off, put them in water, allowed the roots to form on those stems, and then I was able to plant them into this pot, and they're actually taking off, so it's pretty cool. We'll see if we get anything out of it. I don't know. This is a honeyberry tree, so I'll just show you what it looks like here. I don't know, I don't think this is organic, but this is what it is. So it kind of looks like a blueberry. I don't even know what these taste like, but my husband really liked it, so we picked it up, and we will hope for the best on this guy. But the fruit just looks so plump, and this amazing blue color on the fruit is so full of phytonutrients, so that's like so key. So I'm really glad that we got that one. And then I have a gooseberry tree here. So we got this guy. He was pretty established too when we got him, and I am getting gooseberries, but I'm noticing that all of my gooseberries are sort of getting like this little rotten patch right there. I don't know if that's like, I don't know, do gooseberries get like blossom end rot? Because it kind of seems like it's on a lot of the berries. I thought it was at first maybe just like bird damage, but I'm starting to see that this is developing on a lot of the berries. So I'm not really sure what that is. I might have to call the greenhouse, or if anyone knows, let me know. So this is my carrot bed here. I kind of just tossed the seeds in and planted them in a really high intensity planting method. Apparently I was supposed to come through and thin these, which, believe it or not, I already did do. And they're still really, really close together. So my theory, I'm hoping that some of the stronger carrot plants will just choke out the plants that aren't going to make it, and I'll still have a really good harvest. I'm really hoping that's the case. We'll see. Again, another learning experience over here. And then we have just a row right here. These are probably planted properly, although that was not done by my intention. I had some dog friends over, and they got into the front of the garden while these were just planted, so the seeds kind of got all mixed up and mixed into it. So I don't know about this front row. So we'll see about these carrots, and hopefully they just know what to do, and only the strong will survive in this bed. Guys, so this is my little cucumber bed here and my zucchini bed. So in the back there, I have a female plant there. I've got a male plant in the back corner, another male plant here, and I've got a female plant here. So something you kind of need to realize when you're doing cucumbers is you need to plant more than one. So they need to pollinate each other. So basically yesterday or the day before, I was able to pollinate that female flower as well as that one. And that one was wide open this morning, and now it's starting to close in the back there. So that tells me that we had a successful fertilization there. And I believe that this is another female plant here. So we've got enough males, enough females. Now we need bees, which we do not have bees. I haven't seen very many honeybees back here. I do have some flowers, marigolds coming in to hopefully attract some bees, but I really haven't seen any bees this year, and it's already the beginning of July. So I basically have to act as my plant's in vitro fertilization specialist and fertilize my own plants for now till pollinators come over here. I've got a zucchini here, it's doing okay. And I did have a zucchini here, but it actually ended up dying just due to the harsh weather that we had at the beginning of the planting season, and all the rain. It pretty much just got drowned and kicked the bucket. Couldn't make it. Okay, so over here I have a whole area of nasturtiums. I've never grown nasturtiums before. I'm starting to see some nasturtiums on people's YouTube channels on their videos, and I'm a little bit concerned now because I have planted a lot of nasturtiums in my garden, and apparently they really take off. So might have to be pulling some later on in the season. I don't know yet, but we'll see. So I've got some celery plants coming in right now. Back here with the nasturtiums in between. Those are also companion plants, so it's great. All right, and here is my awesome tomato garden. So these plants, the ones in the back are a little bit taller. I think they kind of just get a little bit more heat back there. But, you know, for the most part, they're all pretty much on par in terms of height and size. And all of them have just recently began to flower, and I've just gone through them and sort of tried to pollinate them myself again because, again, we have no pollinators. So you can see there, these guys, they have some flowers on them. These are just starting at the top here. So I think these plants are going to give me a lot of fruit. So I'm really excited about that. This stem I could probably prune off. One thing about tomatoes, they hate having their leaves wet. Hate it. And as soon as their leaves begin to touch the soil, they can actually pick up bacteria and illnesses and things from the soil, and they're very sensitive to moisture and things like that. So what you want to do once they get established is you want to start removing these bottom stems. They've got more than enough leaves to soak up the sunlight, so just these bottom ones need to go, just to remove like the risk of, you know, getting any disease on this plant at all. So this stem will probably go, that base stem will probably go. As you can see, it actually hates the moisture so much, it's literally growing away from the ground. So I'm gonna probably have to chop that off, and I may chop that one off too, eventually, or sooner than later, I don't know. Because you want most of the plant's energy to go to developing fruit and, you know, growing taller. These are all indeterminates back here. So these are gonna grow pretty tall, as long as I, you know, stabilize them and keep them healthy. They should grow 6-7 feet. I mean, I know people that have grown them even taller than that, but if they were, I wouldn't be able to manage them. So I might have to top them at some point just so that I can manage them, but so far so good. So in there we've got some Tiny Tims, some beef steaks. I don't remember which is which anymore, but I'm sure we'll see soon enough. And then in between each of the tomato plants, you can see tucked away in there doing awesome is my basil. So I've got a whole bunch of basil plants planted in between these tomatoes, which will be awesome to make some pesto and things like that. Can that, put it away. And then over here I have some cherry tomatoes. These are just some little determinate tomatoes here, and they're doing really good. They were doing really poopy off the start, and when I brought them out here they were only 3 or 4 inches tall. I was very much not having any faith that these tomatoes would do anything or survive the crazy weather, but they actually did. So now they're like a foot and a bit tall, and they're super healthy, just doing great. I haven't pruned these indeterminates whatsoever. I don't know if you're supposed to. I haven't. I don't know if we're supposed to get rid of these bottom leaves. If we are, please tell me. But I've seen a couple videos, and normally a lot of farmers, they don't really get rid of anything on a determinate plant. So if I need to, please tell me. Okay guys, so what we have going on over here is my corn rows. I've got some healthy rows of corn here. We'll see how they do. This guy's about 1 foot tall. This one, corn plant right now, is doing great. And all the rest of them are just coming in. They're all beautiful. They're coming in nicely. So that's great. So these are sweet corn plants. So hopefully these do okay. I might have to go through and just give these corn plants some room and pulse them out, but I don't know. We'll see if I do that or not. I may have to if it gets too bushy, but right now I don't want to, because they just came out about a week or two ago. I'm just letting them get a tiny bit stronger. And then my amazing salad green bed, like, this thing absolutely loves the crazy weather we've been having. This thing has survived, it has thrived, and one thing you can tell with if your plants are healthy, one way you can know is there is legitimately no pest damage on this entire lettuce bed. Nothing at all. So I'm super proud of it. I was a little bit worried about the arugula, just because it is more of like a, I don't know, I guess it's more of like a sulfur bearing plant, and these kind of attract some of the yucky pests that are hard to get rid of. So I took a neem oil spray that I was using on my bok choy, and I came over here and sprayed these arugula, and I ended up really hurting a lot of the leaves. So I just, word to the wise about using neem oil on your plants is you actually need to really be careful about how much you dilute it. You do want to dilute it enough, and you know, more is not better. You do want to dilute it, or you could have a big burn, if not just like lose your whole crop that you're spraying on. Maybe just try your own mixture basically on a tiny little part of your garden, and then come back the next day and see if it created any leaf burn. If it didn't, you're probably good to go. All right, so next I have my peas. So first week of July, just starting to flower now. I don't know if that was my fault or if these peas are just like that. I have no idea. But these peas are taller than I am. These peas are past 5.5 feet tall. We just ate a bunch of peas off them today, so you won't see any on here now because I picked a lot of them and ate them. So they're off, but these things just took off. They are insane. Like, these stems are just thick and huge. And this is the beginning of another little pea pod coming in there. So yeah, these peas were wicked. They came in great. They really struggled at the beginning with all the water too. They just absolutely hate being overwatered. So word to the wise, don't overwater your peas. They don't really like it. Okay, over here, like, I cannot believe how much these nasturtiums have taken off. Like, look at the size of these leaves. They're awesome. I mean, I've got even bigger leaves than this in the brassica bed too. So these are pretty cool. I do think that they like a shadier area, but they're in full sun right now, so we'll see how they do. We've got some little cucamelons here. These are supposed to be a cucumber crossed with a watermelon, and they actually taste like a lime. So that should be interesting. They're just starting to set fruit now, so I'm pretty excited to see what those taste like actually. And then I've got I had 2 cantaloupe plants in here at the beginning of the season. They were already well established as a seedling, and I basically lost them both from, again, the cold, the harsh rain, and harsh winds and weather. So I've replanted that guy from seed, and we'll see how that one does. And then this one, I actually just bought it at the greenhouse. It was kind of sitting there all alone. So I picked this one up, and it was pretty well established already. The only thing with cantaloupes, because I've never really grown them, is this plant a male, a female? Can this plant set fruit? Can somebody help me? So I'm really hoping, if this particular plant can't set fruit, that this one will be a female. But I don't know how much luck we're gonna have getting that to size by the end of the season, but we'll see, I guess. I'm really hoping this can give me 1 cantaloupe, but again, we're learning. If we get nothing, live and learn. Over here I have my beans. So I'm growing these like purple beans this year. They're sort of, I think you can maybe see one somewhere over here. Where did that go now? I had a big bean growing on one of these plants. Oh, here we go. I was gonna say the birds again, no way. But as you can see, this guy, it's like a little bit of a purple color on it. And so these beans are supposed to be very tender. And basically when you have a little bit more purple color, you just have more phytonutrients in the plant. And phytonutrients are awesome. They're antioxidant, and they help them with immunity. So, you know, you wanna pick seeds that are gonna give you really, really rich, colorful plant food, fruit and vegetables, because it's just more bang for your buck. Basically, you're getting more antioxidants than you would in a typical green bean. Oh, here's a really good example. This one is a dark purple bean, so these should be pretty cool to eat. It's awesome. It's so cute. I'm excited to give those a try. And these beans, again, really struggled at the beginning of the season, so I lost that one. I did lose another one over there, so as you can see, this guy's the odd guy, because he's just a regular bean plant with regular flowers, so he's gonna have green beans. Those are my extras I had in the house that were in the windowsill, so I just ended up having to plant them. And then I actually just planted one under in this area, and this one actually has bright red flowers, so that will be interesting to see when it comes up. And my gorgeous, these are onion plants but from seed, so we'll see what happens with these guys, how big they get. I've read that when you plant onions from seed, they actually can potentially become bigger onions than when you plant them from sets, from the little baby onions. So we'll see. Over here I have my beginnings of a vineyard, my very meek beginnings of a vineyard here. So these are just first year plants. They're not going to be probably setting any fruit this year, and if they do, it's not going to be anything we can actually live off of or have a big amount of. But we're just letting this plant again establish its roots, get strong, and then when it comes to fall, when this is all died off, then I'll just cut it back to a single stem. So the main stem there, you can see there's a main stem there. Usually that stem should be growing all the way up, and then you would pick a vine that goes one way and a vine that basically goes the other way, and then that's where your fruit would be set on. So as you can see, these have quite a long ways to go. This guy's a little bit further along. He's got his main stem's like a little bit taller, but still a pretty long ways to go with these. And then this is my grape plant from Vessie's, which is a table grape plant, so kind of a different plant. These ones are white grapes, so we'll see what happens there. And I just have them in pots right now because we don't know if we're staying, if we're moving, and I really don't want to have to get this whole garden set up and really established and then just end up moving and leaving it all and starting from scratch again. So I'm hoping to at least bring some of the plants that take a lot longer to get established so I don't have to start all over again one day. So over here is my little strawberry patch. So I've got a bunch of plants that I started from bare roots here. Some that I bought as plants. This one was just a plant, just like that. I actually just put that in about a week ago. And I got these ones as well. These I actually bought off somebody else who was moving out of Edmonton to Montreal, and they couldn't take their strawberries with them, so I picked up these. Look like they are established. They were in some pots, so I just unpotted them and planted them directly into the garden. Now this bed has pretty good soil. This one's pretty well draining, so the plants in here are doing pretty awesome. So live and learn, make sure the soil is doing well before trying to expect a plant to produce and do well, survive, and be resilient to the environment when you have poor soil. So these guys are actually doing very well. When I got these though, they had quite a bit of caterpillar damage on them. And I sort of, being a new gardener, had no clue that maybe this was just done by like bugs at night or things like that. But what I actually realized about a week and a half after planting these in my garden was that these were absolutely covered in tiny little green caterpillars. So there must have been a ton of eggs already on this plant that I just was not aware of, and I didn't know what I was looking for. I still don't really know what type of caterpillar it was, but it is pretty damaging if you have those kind of caterpillars on there. But yeah, we at least, once I was able to get some neem spray on them, it's pretty much stopped the infestation completely. And now you can see, especially this one, just the most beautiful glossy leaves are coming back in now. I think it was really, really stressing the plants out to have that infestation, but now they're doing great. As you can see, I have a little strawberry coming in there. We already ate a few this morning, so there's not a lot of ripe ones to show you anymore, but this plant took a huge beating with the caterpillars. Unfortunately, a lot of these leaves just took a huge beating, but I think I did catch it in time, so we're good. I don't see any on here now, so we're good. Good. So then we just monitor these and make sure that we're not getting any more crazy damage. And it will be noticeable if you have pests on your strawberries, because you'll go to bed and your strawberries will look like that. And then you'll wake up in the morning and go check your plants and they look like that. It happens really fast, so you want to get on top of it pretty fast. And then, yeah, these guys back here, I didn't really expect to get much fruit off these guys because they're just year one bare roots, or year two. I don't know what they would be considered, but they were bare root plants. And I'm actually just allowing some of these to produce runners and new plants because I kind of want this bed to be pretty full. So I'm just allowing the plant to use its energy to kind of spread out and make some runners right now. And then once I'm happy with the amount of runners that I have and that I have a bed that's pretty evenly planted, then I'll just start to cut the runners and see what happens. Instead of forcing the plant to create more plants, I will cut the runners back and hopefully it will fruit. I don't know though. We'll see. So then just like a quick note about my little greenhouses. People are wondering, oh, why do you have so many of those little mini greenhouses everywhere? And I did have them over the potatoes too for a while. And the number one reason that I have these little garden houses is to protect my crops from harsh weather. They're normally open if we have decent weather. Now, if we start to get what we get here, which is like these wicked windstorms and super crazy hard rain or hail just out of nowhere, let's say it'll be like a 15-20 minute long just complete downpour and absolute storm, it could really decimate a brand new garden. So we rushed out right away, got a whole bunch of these little garden covers, and they absolutely saved my garden. So as a new gardener, word to the wise, really do your research on when to plant, what the weather was last year at this time, talk to other people who are gardening, so you can basically just find out. I think I found the culprit to my blueberry plant. Anyways, now that I'm distracted. Okay, so anyways, we got these garden covers. These are absolutely crucial. Again, ask people, ask around, what's the weather like? When should you start planting? What should you start planting first? If I could go back in hindsight, I may have waited a little longer to plant like the broccolis and cauliflowers and things like that, because they don't do so well in the super hot sun. But other than that, these garden covers have saved our entire garden. The soil that we have here, it's probably not the greatest tilth, because we just put it in this year, and what we ended up doing, we realized that we had a lot of clay going on, and we actually used a tiller to break up the clay. We added tons of peat moss, tons of manure and compost, but what we didn't really add enough of was perlite. So we are dealing with a not so great draining garden right now this year. So live and learn, add perlite, aerate your soil, because otherwise you're going to be basically fighting with the amount of precipitation that we have to dry your soil and protect your plants from being overwatered and just literally dying. It's like a tragedy to start your seeds in February or March and have beautiful seedlings out here and just have them all die because of overwatering. So I guess maybe 2 tips. Make sure your soil tilth is great and well draining, and also ask around and make sure you're planting at the right time. I was using the Farmer's Almanac as well as my garden planner design program that's also made by Farmer's Almanac, and I ended up planting them at the schedule that the Farmer's Almanac app actually tells you to plant. And in hindsight, I think this year, because the weather, we had like a really late, did we even have a spring? We had a really late spring. I may have planted things a little bit too early, and it was actually more stressful. So in hindsight, I think I would have just waited and planted a little bit later. So planting too early actually ended up setting back the garden by a couple weeks. And when I did my seedlings, I was actually a couple weeks late there too. So I'm a little bit behind in terms of planting and maybe where my plants are developed, like how well my plants are developed for what week of the growing season it is. I don't really have anything to compare it to. I don't know a lot of other Alberta home gardeners that have a well-established backyard garden to compare it to. But I think my garden's coming along regardless, and it will catch up. I've noticed that, like, if I planted some old seedlings I had laying around that looked really small and didn't really look like they were going to make it, they actually really did catch up to the other plants. It's kind of crazy how plants do that. Okay, so right beside the carrots are my red and yellow onions. I planted these guys. As you can see, these guys are huge, huge. We're talking like, this is 2 feet tall already, some of these. These are doing awesome. They just took off like crazy. And they're doing really good. So one thing is, the more leaves that an onion has, for example, this one here, tells you how many layers this onion is going to be. So this looks like it's going to be a pretty big onion with lots of layers. That's pretty cool. I'm excited to see how those come out. I might have dug up some of them and peeked. And they actually look pretty cool. And then here's, last but not least, my pride and joy, my giant potato patch here. These are probably the most rewarding plant I've ever grown. These are my husband's favorite as well. These took off. These absolutely took off. I planted these. These were the first thing I planted, actually. I believe I planted these in just before Mother's Day. Got those in the ground, and it is the first week of July now. And these things are humongous. Like, as you can see, I'm starting to lose walking space here. These plants are up to my waist at this point. And they're just beginning to flower right now. So I'm curious to see what these flowers look like. I have some red potatoes in here, and I also have some yellow potatoes in here. Oh my gosh, we have one flowered. How cute is that? I've never seen that before. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Okay, so that's a potato flower. So as it stands now, even though this bed looks unbelievable, the leaves are extremely healthy. Velvety healthy. No signs of any pest issues. Soil's awesome. They have just taken off. So these are super rewarding to grow. They grew quick too. So this kind of, when you grow a big, huge bed like this that just takes off, it kind of gives you a little bit of confidence as a gardener that maybe you do know what you're doing for some of it. So at this point, we don't really have any potatoes right now. We don't really start to get any potatoes growing until after these have flowered. The flowers have died back, and the plant starts to die back slowly is when the roots start developing into tubers. So there's nothing really going on in there right now. So that is my cool potato bed. Hey guys, so thanks for watching my video. Thanks for going with me on this tour of my garden. Hopefully I'll have another video up in the next couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks. We'll see how everything is going. I'll make another video once things actually have changed, when there's fruit being set, when vegetables are growing, just to show you guys where we're at. And hopefully you guys can go on this journey with me. And if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel, share this video with any of your other Edmonton, Alberta friends and family members that are trying to grow a garden. And hopefully we'll see you again on the next video. And thanks for watching.